What's up, runners and hikers? My name is Mikey Bell with Outdoor Adventure Training, and today we're bringing to you some fun and unique exercises to really build robust strength through the knees, ankles, feet, and even into the hip flexors. If you're a runner or a hiker, you know the number one thing that's gonna keep you from getting after it on the trails is injuries. And these exercises are all about reducing that risk of injury through intentional strength and stability training. Personally, I'm in the middle of my running training right now. I just finished the Ashland Hill Climb, which is a half marathon gaining 5,500 vertical feet, running from Lithia Park all the way up to the summit of Mount Ashland. And about a month out from now, I'm racing in the SOB trail runs. I'm doing 100K, which is obviously a pretty large effort, a lot of elevation gain. So I'm balancing out all of my training runs, which is about 3 to 4 or more runs a week, with a couple days of these strength and stability routines to really ensure I'm staying balanced and keeping those injuries at bay. As I mentioned, these are some unique exercises that we're gonna be doing, and you will need a few pieces of equipment. If you don't have these things, no worries. There's links in the description below to these items. I have no affiliation to these brands. I would highly recommend having these tools as they can really enhance your approach to training. Primarily in this workout, we're gonna be using different kinds of bands. First, these larger, big looped bands. These often come in a set. I'm using a pretty low tension one. We aren't gonna need a lot for this workout. And also these smaller rubber bands that are also closed loop that can go around our knees for some movements, moving side to side. Really effective tools if we don't wanna add a lot of resistance in the form of weight and tax out our muscles. This is a great way to get a little bit of that stimulation. The only other piece of equipment that you'll need is some sort of a small step. I have a couple weights stacked up here. Somewhere in that 6 to 8 inch range is totally fine. And of course, we'll show fun ways to introduce the Bozu ball with these exercises as well. So we'll go ahead and open up the Outdoor Adventure Training app and click on the Bulletproof Knees for Runners. This is also great for hikers too. And even though this is a short routine, really just trying to demonstrate these exercises for you to practice on your own, we're still gonna start with a short dynamic warm-up. That is very important to do before doing these sorts of movements to get some mobility and range of motion. We're starting with just ankle circles, so balancing on one leg and rotating that ankle through its range of motion. Just 10 seconds in each direction on each ankle. Not only should you do dynamic warm-ups before these kinds of workouts, but also before your runs, especially ankle circles. Obviously getting a lot of work on those runs. Sometimes I'll even put my foot behind my hips and work circles with my toe, in contact with the ground. Then we're just working up the body into some knee circles, driving the knees forward and out to the side, bringing them forward to the other side, and then back, little hamstring stretch, little hip stretch. Especially if you've been doing a lot of elevation gain, those glutes might be worked a little bit. We're also warming up that glute medius, which we're gonna be targeting and talking a lot about today.
10 seconds left. Hang in there.
Nice and easy, big rotations.
You're done in 3, 2.
Okay, next we're gonna work on opening up the quadriceps a little bit. Small step, reaching back with the opposite hand, grabbing a hold of that foot, just a brief tug, stretch out that quad, switching to the other side. Really good way to open up the anterior chain. Again, this is a dynamic warm-up. We're not holding any of these stretches for more than just a few seconds.
10 seconds left. Hang in there.
My quads usually get worked on big descents. That's where I feel the quad activation. Migrating from there into butt kicks. Really just trying to get warmed up a little bit here. This pretty well mimics running. Bouncing on the forefoot a little bit. Getting those quads and hamstrings up, especially if you've done no movement today. Get your heart rate up before getting into a workout like this.
10 seconds left. Hang in there.
And we're getting into some side squats, side lunges next.
Side lunges.
For 40
So all I'm doing, stepping out to the side, sinking down. Really good stretch to the adductors there. Focus on your breathing. Make sure you're recovering. Definitely a little bit of ankle range of motion happening here as well. Try to keep that heel grounded as you drive that knee forward and out, maintaining that external rotation.
You're done in 3, 2, 1.
Side
Excellent.
shuffles.
Side shuffles next. We're gonna be doing a similar exercise to side shuffles in the actual workout, just taking them slow today. Again, I'm in the middle of a lot of running training. Don't wanna do too much here. Nice and slow, staying low.
10 seconds left. Hang in
Try not to rock, keeping the core engaged.
there. You're done in 3, 2, 1. Rest.
Okay, short rest. And then we're just gonna do a little bit of isometric loading just to help activate quads, hamstrings, glutes before we get into all the fun movements with the bands. Taking it slow. This is really a lot of balance, but also very good for strengthening the lower body.
Single leg isometric load.
Good way to balance out running, a little isometric hold, help all those smaller stabilizing muscles activate.
Single
So all I'm
leg
doing is
isometric
balancing
row.
on my whole foot, keeping a slight bend in the knee and in the hip. Chest is up, sinking down just a little bit here. And I'm really thinking about squeezing, concentrically engaging all of these muscles. Staying low. Just 40 seconds here, balance. Make sure you're paying attention to what your knee is doing. Don't let the knee just collapse in. Stay slightly externally rotated.
You're done in 3, 1.
Then switching to the other leg, short rest. So it's that isometric squeeze. We're really trying to activate all those muscle fibers. I'm not just balancing here
Single leg
necessarily.
isometric load.
I'm really trying to get low and fire those muscle groups. Primarily glutes, hamstrings, quads is pretty easy to feel that, but really try to get that posterior chain going. From what I've found in my own personal training, whenever I get that posterior chain engaged, it really helps relieve the anterior chain, which seems obvious, but that's why I'm so big on focusing on posterior chain activation, staying low.
You're done in 3, 2, 1.
Short rest. We're doing that again, but now we're gonna do forefoot. So I'm gonna try to get up on the toes and the balls of my feet. Amazing way to strengthen the arch
Isometric
of the
single
foot
leg forefoot
and your
load.
calves. Woo! And work on your balance. So same thing, but my heel is elevated off the ground. Trying to stay low and fire those glutes. You're gonna start to feel this in your calves and in the arch of your foot. That's ideal. If it really starts to burn, take a second, shake it out. This is not the kind of workout that should get you super sore. We're really just getting muscles activated and firing. Sometimes I'll even do this before a shorter tempo run, interval run, short rest, or the day before a long run, like I'm doing tomorrow. Switching to
Isometric
the other
single
leg,
forefoot
getting
load.
up,
For 40 seconds.
follow the foot. Staying low, stay up on those toes.
10 seconds
Almost
left.
there.
Hang in
And then we're gonna get into the fun stuff. Really just trying to get you warmed up, Get those muscles firing so you can get the most out of our exercises today. Whew, nice work. So for your band, it needs to be rigged up to something super solid, okay? So I'm gonna take one end of the band and I'm gonna girth hitch it. I'm actually gonna go over here just so I stay in the frame a little better throughout the workout. And I want this about at knee height or so. So banded split squats. All I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go with my right leg first. I want the band pulling my knee into a valgus position, okay? This is dysfunctional. This is what causes a lot of injury. The arches collapsed, our knees caving in, we're not firing the muscle groups that were meant to be in this position. So what I'm working on is actively externally rotating and driving the knee forward into my deep split squat, that ATG split squat. Getting the knee over the toe, chest is up, pushing back to center. Now the key is I'm resisting that force, externally rotating, sinking down, driving back out. A lot of glute medius activation here. If you're having trouble keeping heel in contact with the floor, use a little wedge underneath the heel. That's totally fine as we work on range of motion. But really firing the VMO, adductors, and the glute medius. Switching to the other leg now. Okay, so I want the direction of pull about perpendicular to my knee. So I'm gonna have to face the opposite way here. But as you can see, the way this is pulling, my knee wants to collapse in. I need to work to concentrically push away from that band. It might not look like much, but if you're doing them right and you're watching where that knee is tracking in relation to your foot and your toes, it's really what we're after here. You could certainly add resistance, maybe in the next round, we'll get to that. Up on that back toe. Make sure we're not overarching through the lumbar spine, keeping the abdominals activated and drawn in. One side might get deeper than the other, that's okay. One more good, clean rep, sinking down deep. Whew, nice work. I'm gonna keep my band rigged up for the duration of this exercise. I'm gonna bring these weights in a little bit. This might be some trial and error for you of where those weights need to be. Feel free to pause the video if you need to, but essentially, I'm doing reverse step ups. Now the band is pulling my knee directly forward. So my chest is up. I'm actually gonna let that band now pull me forward as much as I can while keeping the whole foot grounded on the weight, okay? Sinking down and then a lot of quad activation, especially through the VMO, back up to center. But again, pay attention to your knee. We don't want the knee driving in over the big toe or moving medially. We still need that glute medius activation. Really amazing way to target the VMO, that internal or medial quadricep muscle that is so critical to running and hiking performance. It's not about how many we do here, rather the quality of each rep. For switching, I just usually put my other foot right in here. Switch over to the other side. Okay, so you might need to adjust if that was really intense, too much. You can move your weights forward a little bit. You can go to a lighter band, you can go to a heavier band. You could hold a medicine ball. I'm not doing any of those things today. I'm gonna keep it as is. Feel really good with this. Driving that knee forward as much as I can. This is equal parts mobility and strength. Usually the limiting variable is calf mobility and strength. So if you struggle with keeping that foot grounded on the floor, that might mean you need to work on some lower leg mobility I got a video for that. I'll put a link to it up here. Notice how slow I'm going. My chest is up and my hips aren't bending back, right? That's really key. The band is pulling the knee forward. My hips are dropping more or less straight down over the heel. Really trying to get that quad activation.
Hang in there. You're done.
Nice work. I'm gonna come out of the band. We're not done with it yet. We got one more exercise with this band before we migrate to our little skinny band. Single leg reverse squat. So I'm rocking back. Whoa, don't do that if you have important things around that are fragile. I'm gonna drop my heel through the band, wrap it around, and now I'm gonna get back just a little bit so I have some resistance. I'm laying on my back. This knee is bent, driving this knee in towards my chest. So you'll probably find nearly immediately, this is all about hip flexor activation, core activation, keeping the lumbar spine grounded to the floor, driving that knee in towards the chest. Come all the way out. This is one you can work on a little bit of power too, with coming in quick, letting it out slow. Whew, a lot of hip flexor work here. Most people suffer from tight hip flexors, can result in low back pain, the whole bit.
10 seconds left.
Part of having strong hip flexors is concentrically and eccentrically engaging them like we are here,
3, 2,
as well as mobilizing. We'll switch over to the other leg. These are tough for me, honestly. I think hip flexor work is definitely underrated, undervalued, and kind of hard to do sometimes. You gotta have a band and work on this. Hard to do body weight. I mean, you could do V-sit sort of things. That's definitely effective, but this is about as good as it gets here for hip flexor activation. Letting it out slow. Bringing that in, and really get that last range of motion and try to hold it for just a split second before letting it in. Don't just bring it in and let it right back out. Really try to bring it in, hold, let it out. Try not to let that leg come all the way down to the ground.
10 seconds left. Hang in there.
One more good rep.
You're done in 3, 2,
Nice work. We're coming off of the ground. We're ditching that band for now. Now with your lighter band, we're gonna put this around both legs, just above the knee joint.
Lateral band walks.
Okay, so what I'm doing here, again, creating that valgus motion that I'm going to resist by externally rotating, and we're very simply
Lateral band
and
walks.
difficultly walking side to side. And this could be just below the knee joint too. I feel like it's more comfortable for me just above today, but I definitely experiment with both. So all I'm doing without rocking or waddling, trying to stay low, move that foot out, resist it back in. So notice it's slow going out and slow coming back in, meaning I'm not, okay? Because what happens is when we come in quick, there's no resistance. We want to be strong in the eccentric way as well. So keeping them externally rotated. A lot of glute med activation. If you're not feeling it, you're either not low enough or the resistance is not hard enough. Core engaged. Notice I'm kind of just doing a few back and forth, and that's ideal. Woo! All right, felt pretty good. We're gonna go through that whole round one more time. I'll show some different variations for some of these. Primarily for the split squat, we're gonna add a Bozu ball
Band split squat.
for fun. Okay, Bring that band back up. I'm going right leg first, just below the knee here. Let me get these guys out of the way. Pulling that valgus motion. Now I'm gonna work on an unstable surface. And then again, full extension, driving the knee forward and down. Try to keep that foot balanced. These are all just options. You do not need to use the Bosu ball for this to be effective. Just like the added instability. Still a ton of glute activation. Really good hip flexor stretch. Good quad activation on the way back up. Definitely feeling this in the arch of the foot even, which is amazing. Gotta have strong feet, especially if you're running in anything other than a big bulky Hoka shoe. No offense if you do. I'm an Ultra fan. I know they get a lot of hate too. But I love the zero drop. Woo! We're gonna switch to the other leg now and move these out of the way again. Bosu's going up here, somewhere in this area. Left leg now. Again, make sure that band is pulling your knee in, not out.
Band split squats.
This is also great stuff for ski training even, to reduce the risk of an ACL injury. This is that same motion that can easily result in an ACL tear, that valgus movement. Trying to resist. Oh, core engaged. Staying focused. Definitely not as strong in this side. Takes a lot more concentration for me.
10 seconds left. Hang in.
External rotation.
You're done.
Nice work. Okay, quick transition here. Done with the Bosu. We're going back to the reverse step up. I'm gonna work valgus motion again. You could certainly work the anterior pull if you like that, but I can rig this up just like the split squat, pulling that valgus motion. And now this other leg out in front. Or sometimes I'll even put this leg in between just so it doesn't interfere. So now, a lot going on here. It's wanting to pull me in. I'm resisting that as I drive the knee forward. I know I'm a little off what this guy over here is doing. That's okay. It's a little bit too much resistance for me to really dial these in. Whole foot needs to stay grounded. That's really the whole emphasis of this exercise while driving the knee. That's where all that calf and ankle mobility really comes in. If you're running and you're not foam rolling your calves, man, I don't know how you do it. That's a daily ritual for me every morning.
You're done in 3.
Nice work. Switch to the other leg now.
20 seconds.
So same thing here. Working on that valgus movement.
Band
Move
reverse
this forward a
step up.
bit. These are tough. If you're struggling with these, no worries. I've been practicing these for a while now.
Band reverse step up.
They do get easier pretty quickly, actually. Driving that knee. Really make sure you're staying balanced through the shoulders, through the hips as well. Again, we're not looking for muscular fatigue per se, more so just activation. Oh yeah, feeling that in the glutes for sure.
10 seconds left. Hang in there.
Couple more. Woo! Nice work. Okay, reverse single leg squat now. Done with these guys. Not really much. I mean, there are
Single leg
variations of
reverse
this.
squats.
I'm not gonna exercise those today. I'm gonna keep it pretty simple because again, I'm in the middle of running season. So I'm not looking for any critical,
Single leg reverse squats.
well, I shouldn't say critical, any massive adaptations here. I'm really just trying to get that activation and that firing. So when I get on the trail and I'm deep on mile 20 or 30 or 40, my body knows what to do without me having to think too much. Oh yeah, definitely feeling it in the hip and the abdominals. Remember, keep that lumbar spine grounded to the floor. My heel is just kind of staying above the floor the whole time. If it gets too much, just scoot closer to your anchor point.
10 seconds left. Hang in there. You're done in 3, 2, 1.
Nice work. Switching to the other leg, last set of these.
Single leg reverse squats.
Getting back about to that same position.
We'll start in
Here we go, working those hip flexors, keeping that
Single leg
lumbar
reverse
spine
squats.
grounded,
60 seconds.
keeping the abdominals engaged. Really, your hip flexors are part of your core. This is a great way to train them together. Similar to a leg lift or a flutter kick. We want that core engaged as we move the hip through its range of motion.
You're half done.
Couple more good reps.
You're done in 3, 2,
Nice work. Okay, final set. We're doing those lateral band walks again. You don't need to add anything. I might hold a medicine ball, and I'll tell you why as we get
Lateral
into it.
band walks.
I find that it really helps with core activation. Holding anything, just 10 pounds, super light. I'm gonna concentrate on, of course, keeping the
Lateral
knees
band
externally
walks.
rotated, but holding this out in front will immediately help keep your core engaged so long as you're not rocking. Staying low, really pushing that band out, and then back slow. Really feeling it in the glutes. Hang in there. If you need to take a break, no worries. Again, it's not about burning out here. We're trying to build better movement patterns. Get the brain firing. Almost done.
seconds left till the end. Do this.
Staying low. Slow on the way in.
You're done in 3, 2,
Woo! Nice job. After that routine, your glutes should be firing, your quads should be firing. You might even feel some activation through the lower legs, the shin, the calves, the feet. That's awesome. That's exactly what we're looking for in this sort of a workout. Again, it's not about maxing out, really getting burned out and fatigued. It's about building that neuromuscular efficiency. So when you're deep on your trail runs, this becomes second nature and you have excellent movement patterns. If you're looking to integrate more strength training into your running programming, which I highly recommend, check out our Ridge Runner training program on our website at outdooradventuretraining.com. Get a 7-day free trial, full strength and conditioning program, including the stability and strength stuff like we're focusing on today, as well as the cardiovascular programming, heart rate zones, the whole bit. As always, it's a pleasure having you on the channel, and we'll see you next time here at Outdoor Adventure Training.